So density is a physical property. It's not a chemical property of a substance. Density is a physical property, all right? And it's a calculation. The density of an object is equal to its mass divided by its volume. Okay? This is a formula you're already familiar with. I'll be very surprised if you haven't talked about density before, right? So we're going to do a really simple lab, and I'm going to give you some objects, okay, to calculate their density. If we're just going to write it as a math formula, we'll just write D is equal to M over V. All right? So what's mass measured in? Grams. And what's volume measured in? There are two measurements for volume. If we're talking about liquid, it'd be grams per milliliter. If we're talking about space, it'd be grams per centimeter cubed. Right? So you can have G per ml if you're measuring the density of a liquid, or you can have G per centimeter cubed if you're talking about a solid object. Does that make sense? So, doesn't matter. Talking about water, it's all the same anyway, right? So, here's what we're going to do. You're going to have an object like a little plastic or metal ingot, all right? And they're small, so it's going to be hard to measure them. So what we'll do is we'll get a graduated cylinder like this, and it's got marks on it, right? And then we'll put some water in it. Put some water in it. And then when we put the ingot in it, the water's going to go up. Does that make sense? Okay, so the first thing you'll do is, before you put the ingot in it, you'll read the water level. Let's say that this one was 50 milliliters, and then you put the metal ingot in there, and now it reads 59 milliliters. Then how big was this? It was 9 cubic centimeters. Does that make sense? Because for water, 1 milliliter is equal to 1 cubic centimeter. Does that make sense? Now, this process is called, does anybody know what it's called? Fill this in. When you move water to see how large something is, what? Yeah, man. Displacement. We also use that when we're calculating the capability of boats. All right. So this is called displacement. Read the water level. Throw in the metal carefully so none of the water splashes out. And then read the water level again. That's going to give you the volume. Okay? So it can get the volume. And if you want to get the mass, just throw it on a scale. So we would know the size of that was 9 cubic centimeters. And then we can put it on a scale. And the scale might say, we'll say the scale says 27 grams. So this has a density of 3 grams per centimeter cubed. Does that make sense? 27 is divided by 9. Is anybody confused about that? I'm sure that you've done this in other classes. I'm positive. You've done this in middle school, right? You've done density. Okay, so now the only new thing for you may be actually displacing objects. I'm going to post your tables on the Google Classroom. I want you to download them and keep them, your reference tables, okay? And you can use them to determine the metals that you have, okay? All right, let's get this lab started. Okay, so we're doing one right here. We've got some water in there, and we're going to read our water level, which appears to me to be right at blurry. Can you read that water level for me?
69, I think.
Okay, it's about 69 or 70.
It's right between the two.
Okay, all right, so that's where we're at. Then we're going to take this metal ingot right here. All right, ready? Put it in there for us. So lean it over. We're leaning it over so we don't spill any of the water. And now we're going to read it again. What do you think the new water level is?
73, 74, right between.
Okay, so it went from 69.5 to 73.5.
Yeah.
So we would subtract those two numbers, and it's 4. It's 4 cubic centimeters. So keep working with you real quick. So now we're just going to pour the water out. We know the size of this one, in particular, is about 4 cubic centimeters. So we're going to weigh it. And the mass is exactly 30 grams. So you would write D is equal to M over V. And for you, that would be D is equal to 30 grams divided by 4 centimeters cubed. And that's going to give us 7.5 grams per centimeter cubed. And I hope that makes sense to everybody at home. So what we'll do is we'll look up that on our tables. Here is the formula. And we'll look up that on our tables and see if we can guess as to what metal this is. Now, unfortunately, the metal that we just did in the video was not on the reference table. So this is the actual density of the metal we did on the video. And that is tin, T-I-N, the element tin, right there. That is what she had. So we're off by 2/10 in calculating the density, which is not too awful bad. The rest of the elements that I will give you, will be found on this table right here. I'm posting it online. This is part of your chemistry reference tables. And this is at the bottom of page 1. Okay? So on the bottom of page 1, you'll find a density chart. Okay? And the metals that I give you on your worksheet will be on this chart. And any metals that I give you as part of this video will be on this chart. Here are some numbers. Here are the numbers for this metal. You can see its color. That might be a good hint for you. It's 29.6 grams per 3.2 cubic centimeters. So you should calculate what the density is in grams per cubic centimeter, and that will be this metal if you look it up on the chart. The chart is on the bottom of page 1 on your reference tables.